Paths to College and Career is a comprehensive 6 through 12 English language arts and literacy program that includes curricular materials and implementation support. This program enables educators to meet the demands and instructional shifts of college and career-ready standards. Specifically, the Paths curricular materials provide engaging and rigorous learning experiences for all students, including English language learners, students reading below grade level, and advanced students. Likewise, it provides meaningful support for educators as they apply new instructional approaches and strategies. Paths provides guidance to teachers for facilitating evidence-based conversations about text, developing students' academic vocabulary, teaching close reading, implementing accountable independent reading, and unpacking the standards. The materials for each module are organized into 3 components for ease of use: a teacher guide, a teacher resource book, and a student journal. The teacher guide is a high-level planning resource for teachers, with an introduction to the program that describes its intended outcomes. Each teacher guide is accompanied by a teacher resource book, which contains all of the supporting materials needed for that module, organized lesson by lesson. A student journal is available for each module and provides students an opportunity to record their responses in one place, as well as easily annotate the texts. The clean design and straightforward presentation of the materials enhances usability, enabling teachers to reference sections of lessons with ease and students to actively engage with the content. The Paths to College and Career ELA curriculum tightly aligns with the standards in reading, writing, speaking and listening, and language. The curriculum is designed to thoroughly address the tenets of college and career-ready instruction. It brings to life the instructional shifts with a balance of fiction and nonfiction texts, regular practice with complex texts and academic vocabulary, and speaking and writing grounded in evidence from texts. The wide range of texts speak to meaningful issues and give students diverse experiences in reading and analysis. The questions and tasks support comprehension and build students' close reading skills, and are sequenced so students can access challenging texts at increasingly complex levels. Paths provides teachers robust opportunities to assess student mastery of the standards. Formative and summative assessments use the language of the standards to ensure alignment. The prompts fully address each standard and allow all students to demonstrate the depth and complexity of thinking required by college and career-ready standards. The Paths to College and Career curriculum provides a full year of instruction for grades 6 through 12. Each grade level includes 4 primary modules. Additionally, the 3 writing units can be incorporated into any of the high school years. Modules are arranged in units comprising 1 or more texts that share common elements in relation to genre, author's craft, text structure, or central ideas. Each unit in a module builds on the skills and knowledge students develop in the preceding units. The number of lessons in a unit varies based on the length of the texts. The curriculum as a whole follows an explicit, systematically developed progression of learning, ensuring that knowledge and skills are introduced, developed, and deepened within and across the grades. Each module comprises up to 3 units and provides approximately 8 weeks of instruction. Paths provides multiple supports in each module to facilitate instructional planning and effective delivery. The module overview provides a roadmap of the entire module. It communicates the module's key instructional concepts, texts, and summative assessment prompts, as well as year-long and module-specific standards. Parallel to the module overview, the unit overviews provide essential information in an easy-to-understand format to ensure that teachers are equipped to successfully implement the unit. The unit overview recommends actions that the teacher should take in preparing for instruction. A unit at a glance calendar outlines the arc of the unit, with a lesson-by-lesson summary of activities, learning outcomes, and assessments. A unit consists of a set of lesson plans, which begin by orienting teachers to the lesson. The lesson introduction previews the texts, learning sequence, and outcomes. The assessed and addressed standards and the lesson assessment are also presented, and serve as the basis for teacher instruction and student learning. Students demonstrate their learning through responses to these assessment prompts, and model student responses are provided for the teacher as guidance. In addition, teachers are given vocabulary and definitions, as well as direction about which words to provide directly and which words to teach in context. Lastly, a lesson agenda presents a student-facing agenda and the percentage of the lesson allocated for each activity. The learning sequence follows this overview and details the activities that scaffold students toward the standards-aligned assessment. Embedded in the learning sequence are teacher actions, student responses, and instructional notes. Instructional notes include differentiation considerations to help teachers meet the diverse needs of their learners. Students synthesize their learning in an assessment, which may require a student to respond to a quick write, participate in a discussion, or complete a tool. Following the lesson assessment is the closing. During the closing, daily homework is assigned, which builds on the day's learning and prepares students for the following lesson. Texts for each grade level meet complexity requirements consistent with the standards. Texts in paths were selected according to the current and stretch Lexile bands, and according to evaluations of qualitative complexity. Throughout each grade level and across grade bands, students encounter increasingly complex texts, strengthening their reading and analysis skills. Paths provides opportunities for students to engage with texts that are well-crafted and authentic. Contemporary and canonical fiction are juxtaposed with informational and literary nonfiction in ways that develop students' critical thinking skills. Text sets reflect the balance of fiction and literary nonfiction recommended for grades 6 through 12. The curriculum text selections often expose students to multiple genres within one module. Materials also include texts of different formats, including print, film, and fine art, and of different lengths. Both extended, full-length texts and shorter, equally complex texts are provided regularly at each grade level. Additionally, the curriculum texts include a variety of ethnicities, genders, and experiences, and serve as models for students' own thinking and writing. Paths presents balanced but differing views of issues to develop critical analysis and informed decision-making skills. Finally, throughout Paths, there is an explicit expectation that students read independently as part of accountable independent reading. Through protocols built into the lessons, students regularly engage in conversation with peers and their teacher about how they applied focus standards to their independent reading. Through the Accountable Independent Reading program, students become independent and interested readers. This short video clip shows a student discussing their accountable independent reading.
We had outside readings that we had to do that it was a little extra work, but it was nice to not have just what's in the unit, to pick something ourselves.
Close reading in Paths is driven by text-dependent questions that explicitly address the texts read and standards assessed. Students are prompted to gather and cite evidence to support their claims and inferences in response to all text-dependent questions, both in writing and discussion. Sequences of text-dependent questions build on each other and scaffold to the assessment, enabling students to engage critically and increasingly more deeply with the text. Questions typically progress chronologically through the text to support comprehension and become more conceptual over the course of a lesson or unit. In addition to building students' understanding of the texts, these questions and tasks support students in examining vocabulary, sentences, and structure. In this video clip, an 11th grade teacher talks about her experience with the standards-aligned assessments.
I've liked that each lesson is definitely has a standard in mind, and that the assessments are all linked right back to that standard.
The curriculum includes frequent and varied opportunities to assess student learning and track their progress toward success with the standards. The strategy for assessment begins with lesson-level formative assessments, which provide students with opportunities to practice and refine skills on a daily basis through writing or discussion. The mid and end-of-unit assessments ask students to synthesize the knowledge and understanding of the preceding texts and standards, and ultimately prepare students for a culminating performance assessment. All assessments are accompanied by rubrics and student checklists, tailored to the type of assessment and to the specific standards being assessed. These rubrics enable teachers to identify standards with which students are not demonstrating mastery, and isolate those skills with which students need additional support. In addition, student checklists ensure that students are explicitly aware of the expectations of the assessment and afford students a structured way to self-assess their own work prior to submission. PATHS enables teachers to enact the standards and shifts in the classroom, understanding that in any given classroom there is a range of student needs. To accommodate that reality, PATHS provides suggestions to support varying student needs at the unit and lesson level in order to provide all students with rigorous learning opportunities. The curriculum encourages teachers to move at the pace they think is best given their students' needs. Also, masterful readings model fluent reading and give students opportunities to hear complex text read with appropriate cadence, emphasis, tone, and pronunciation. Students reading below grade level benefit enormously from hearing the text read while they follow along. Additional supports throughout the PATHS curriculum include vocabulary to support English language learners and differentiation considerations. These differentiation considerations offer scaffolding recommendations, optional reading and discussion questions, and lesson adaptations that support students in understanding complex texts. Writing opportunities in PATHS are prominent and varied. Students have daily opportunities at the lesson level to engage in multiple forms of informal writing, as well as extended multi-paragraph essays. Each year begins with informative writing instruction, as students learn to articulate claims clearly, identify relevant evidence to support those claims, and provide explanation of how the evidence relates to the claims. These skills form the basis of students' work with argument writing and independent research. Using their foundational understanding of the relationship between claims and evidence, students learn to take a position, identify and refute counterclaims, and articulate nuanced reasoning. Additionally, students engage in text-based narrative writing. Teachers provide narrative writing instruction by demonstrating how model texts exemplify the narrative writing standards. Finally, PATHS includes writing units that may be used at any grade level to support students who would benefit from additional targeted writing instruction. Each unit focuses on a particular type of writing instruction: argument, informative, and narrative. Each lesson in PATHS includes opportunities for conversation and collaboration with peers about texts, both formal and informal. Informal discussions occur as students work in pairs or in small groups to analyze the text through text-dependent questions. Students also have opportunities to participate in whole class discussions, as well as more formal discussions that are structured around particular components of the speaking and listening standards. These varied discussions provide students with opportunities to engage with one another and build on the ideas of others. Peer conversations are text-based and require students to support their responses by returning to the text. In addition, students draw on their research and writing to engage in oral presentations throughout PATHS. PATHS thoroughly addresses the language standards, providing explicit instruction on the grammar and language conventions specified in the standards. Vocabulary instruction is also an integral part of PATHS. Each lesson includes a list of grade-level words from the text, with parts of speech and contextual definitions. Vocabulary instruction in PATHS is always text-based. Students build vocabulary in context, engaging with new or unfamiliar words through targeted text-dependent questions. Questions focus on words that advance depth of word knowledge, as well as words that are critical to the meaning of the texts. Finally, in PATHS, students practice and develop language in authentic contexts. For example, in the Module 12.1 Performance Assessment, students participate in a mock college or career interview. Overall, the PATHS curriculum provides resources that enable teachers to meet the demands of the standards and students to graduate college and career ready, as indicated through numerous positive reviews from educational organizations such as Achieve and Washington OSPI, teachers, and students. To learn more about the curriculum, please visit www.pathstocollegeandcareer.com. We look forward to partnering with you to shift instruction and spark learning.